What's up, YouTube? I'm coming at you today with the video about scopes. When I first got into shooting, period, not just pellet guns, a scope was really just a tool to help me shoot. And I know you guys are probably going, duh. But I wasn't gonna go out and pay $100 for a scope. So I ended up using Tasco and whatever the little cheap ones was that you run and get Walmart with, or whatever came on the rifle that I bought at the time. When I got older and was still hunting and so on, I still used pretty cheap scopes. Maybe I moved up to 69, or if I was really being extravagant, $80, I had a great scope. Until, man, recently, it's not that I hadn't got into some more expensive scopes, like, and getting into the Arkin. But the Arkin is considered entry level, so something like this UTG, I have no idea what this is called. Beginners, maybe. This is a 4x16 by 44. It says SWAT Mil Dot. So this is an older scope. I got this scope from SG on one of the rifles that I got from him. It's not that this scope is a bad thing. So I think we tend to judge something by what we use it for. So, with me shooting at 50 yards 97% of the time or less, this is a great scope. So is a Penty. We're talking $40 scopes, maybe a little bit more. In the case of the UTG, we can get into $100 scopes, but we're talking about relatively cheap scopes. So hold on, guys. All right, guys. So I'm going to, and I don't have what they consider an expensive scope. The most expensive scope I have right now would probably still be considered entry level. I'm going to show you that today. It's a Zerotech 5x25x56 Vengeance. To me, it's a very good scope, but it's probably still considered entry level. But I'm just going to give you my take on a lower end, maybe consider it to an entry level. Okay. Now, this scope feels pretty good. The metal, it feels nice. The turrets, so this one has what you would screw down to lock. Okay, you screw it down to lock, and you unscrew it to loosen it up so you can turn it. Now, I haven't used it in a while, so let's hear what the turrets sound like. Okay. It's decently tactile. I mean, nice clicks. I'm gonna loosen this one up. Okay, and it sounds pretty good too. Not really loud. It goes down to, I don't know if you can see that, but 12 yards is what it goes down to. Now, the better a scope gets, the actual more that's going to be. Like it's going to go up to 25 to 50 yards, because most of the time you're not going to be shooting these little short distances. All right, these turn really easy, very smooth. If you lock them down, they don't move. If you loosen them up, just a little bit, they do. Okay, you lock it down, it doesn't. I don't know if you can actually see through that. I guess if I move the cap. But at 50 yards, this scope is going to look really good. Now I'm in the house, so I don't know how much of that you can see. But at 50 yards, when you look through this glass, I mean, it looks good. It's going to do what you want it to do. You might take it out to 100 yards. You may not. But for what we do, and this being on a pellet gun, this is a good scope. I'm going to move up in price a little bit. And with this, we're going to go to a Monstrum, and I forget which model this is, and it doesn't have it listed. But this is a Monstrum. It's a 6 by 24 by 50, and this is a 24 power scope, of course. And I do believe I said this one was a 16. All right, so if I was to hold these up, the Monstrum is just a tad longer. One thing I wanted to say about this UTG was no matter what you use on this, whether you use a bikini cap or locking caps, there's really nothing you can do for this part. Still, it's a decent scope, and I shoot pretty good with this scope in my backyard, say out to 50 yards. I shoot great. I haven't shot this scope at 100 yards, so I don't know. Now the Monstrum. This is a first focal plane scope. It's stiff. So this is me dialing in the magnification. This lever helps, but it's still stiff. Now, yes, you can move it with one finger, but it's very stiff. Okay. All right. These turrets, open turrets, and almost I think all the scopes I'm going to show you are open. Meaning they don't have a cap on them, so that you have to unscrew the cap to have access. Again, I haven't used this scope in a while, so we're gonna hear the clicks on it. And this one you can barely hear. I'm right here with it, and I can barely hear it, so I don't even know if you guys will. I can feel them. Okay. Now this one goes to 10 yards. See if you can see that. Yeah. 10 yards. And then if you turn it all the way, of course it has the infinity symbol, but it says 1,000 yards, and then 1,000 is right there, and then it's right there on infinity, which of course any scope once you turn it so far is infinity, but technically it has a distance in which is usable. The caps that come with this, I mean, they're not high quality. This piece right here, it feels nice for plastic, almost feels like metal. They do snap, and they do fit really good. This scope has some weight to it, but it's still kind of a fairly lightweight scope. It weighs more than the UTG, but it's a decent scope. The glass on this one and the reticle. So the reticle on this one is your basic It looks like that. And I don't know if you can see it. Probably with me right there, you can't. Yeah, I think I saw it right there. Yeah. Anyway, I see it. But it's still a decent scope. Now this scope right here, if I'm right, I think it was somewhere around 150 to 180 bucks. Now the next scopes I'm going to show you we're starting to, as far as I'm concerned, we're starting to get up there into some money. So this is my Zero Tech, and this is the Vengeance, and this one is a 5x25 by 56, and this one is a Blackhound. Now you guys have seen me shoot some of my guns with Blackhounds. This is a newer scope, and the one thing that I'm going to say about this before I even show it to you is that this Blackhound, the reticle is not as thick as the other two Blackhounds that I have. Now, in this, you get a sticker and some paperwork. And I know this has something to do with the lens cleaning. I don't know exactly what, because I've never used one of these pens, even though they come with every Blackhound. It has a shade, and this is a 6x24 by 50, and even though a 50 is a pretty good size objective, it looks quite small once you've held a 56. Comes with the battery for illumination. Now the Zero Tech is not illuminated. The Monstrum was not illuminated, but the UTG is. Okay. It also comes with rings. So these would be a medium ring right here. And they're Blackhound rings. See? Okay. And it comes with 2 bubble levels. So this is for the show the guns level and the scope level as you mount it, and they're just standard little metal, so they will stick to magnet. They may have the little magnet in it. Let me see. Now, just the standard ones. And also, just so you guys can see, the backing on this scope is a solid foam piece with the cutouts. Also, so you guys can see as well, it shows you, this is the quality control, and it has the check marks of everything like the illumination and so on. And then also it has the date, who it was inspected by, and the serial number of the scope on this. Alright, it tells you everything that they checked, magnification, rotation, elevation turrets, windage turrets, side parallax, and so on. So let's grab the Blackhound. And now the Blackhound is a first focal plane. And I grab the Monstrum again. And as far as weight, the Monstrum actually weighs a little bit more, and it's taller. The turret's almost the same size, but the serrations on this on these turrets are way more, they're bigger. They're not tiny like these. And the grip is better on these. This again is a 6x24 by 50. It does not have the lever on it, but it looks like it has a screw to add a lever. Now when it comes to turning your magnification. This again is tight. Now it's not as tight as the Monstrum, but it is tight. The caps, plastic caps, I wish they would bend all the way over, but it is what it is. They snap on really good. You hear these, well, you hear the front one snap a little better than you did on the Monstrum, but both are pretty good. The glass on this is good, and the reticle on this is thin and it's a lot smaller. Now on previous Blackhounds, that reticle was a lot thicker. Even on the first focal planes, I don't know if Blackhound even makes a second focal plane, but it's small, it's thin. It's not a Christmas tree on this one. It also is this. When looking through it, when you're dialing your distance, very stiff. And this one goes down to 15 yards. Goes out to 500 yards. Here's your illumination. And wow, that's very, very, very stiff on the illumination. You don't hear any clicks on it, but it's very stiff. So let's take and listen to the turrets. This is elevation, of course. Now you don't hear it as much. It's not a loud click. You feel it a lot. And the same with this. You don't hear it, but you do feel it. Now I can hear it audibly. I doubt if you guys heard it on the camera. Feels very well made. And I can tell you firsthand, this is a very nice scope. And it's going to get you out there. If you do have any questions about this scope or any of the others, please feel free to drop me a comment, ask me a question. And we're gonna get this one back in the bag, back in the box. Oh, and this scope, I guess it ranges depending on when you could find it. I got this scope on sale back around Thanksgiving for just over $200. Not much over $200. The average price when you're buying this scope is probably about $400 to $500. And yes, if you were to pay that much for it, it would be worth it. You don't hear Blackhound, you don't hear people talk about Blackhound as much as you do Arkin. But in my book, they are very much as good as Arkin. And that's me speaking from ownership. They are very much as good as Arkin. So, get this back in. And now the last scope is the Zerotech Vengeance. Now, this is not the most expensive scope I own, but currently own. My most expensive scope hasn't come in yet. So, this scope right here, if you don't catch it on sale, this is an $800 scope. So, when it comes to this scope as well, it's even boxed a little different. So that's your good one-piece foam. It comes with nothing but some bikini caps and a Zerotech neoprene scope cover. Now, it tends to be the more expensive the scope, the less you get with it. So let's get this one out. Now this scope is going on one of my NRLs. I'm probably going to remove the Arkin from the Savage. You guys haven't seen the Savage right now. Well, you have seen the Savage, but right now the Savage is chassisless, and I'm waiting on a PDC Customs chassis for it, and it will probably be in the next month or two, so nothing to see for right now. The Zero Tech 5 by 25 by 56, way bigger bail. The glass on this is very nice. So this scope I have not shot with this scope yet. I have looked through the lenses. It is very nice. And this one, the parallax, goes down to 20 yards. Okay. The knobs. So this one, it has a little raised bump similar to the Monstrum, but not quite as much. So when I go to turn my magnification, this one is smooth, really smooth. It's not stiff at all. It is smooth. Okay, I didn't do this on the others, and I don't know why. This is your eye relief, so it is how you get you know, the clear picture. So this one right here, it was a little stiff when I first broke it, but now it's really smooth. When I first turned it for the first time, it was a little stiff to get that ball rolling, but now smooth, easy. It feels really good, and it's probably the best one I've felt over any of my scopes. Now, as time goes on, I will compare this one to the Arkin, to Element. I have an Element scope as well. And I'm always talking about my sniper, so I will compare it to the 4x7. And I don't even remember what that one is. 4x7, I don't know. It's 4x7 something by 56. Anyway, I have two videos on that scope. I have two of those scopes. Zero Tech again. So let's hear what the turrets sound like. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, but very tactile, nice clicks. I'm going to scoot it up a little closer this time as I do the windage. Okay. And I will, let me take a look through here again. None of these actually had the Christmas tree reticle, but, well, actually, I think this one does. Let me dial this in some. Well, I still can't see it. I mean, I can see the cross, but I'm pretty sure this one has a sort of a Christmas tree on. Let's see if you can see. It's hard to tell because of the glare. I don't know what all you can see, and I don't know where that camera is on this phone. So anyway, glass is really nice on this scope. How much am I gonna like it? Well, I don't know. I am thinking I am going to love it. I know with this scope, I am going to do 500 yards easy. And that's one thing also that you'll find with the more money that you spend on a scope. Even with the less magnification, and I don't understand how it all works. But with the less magnification as well, you still can see out at a pretty good distance. So um, this one is a high magnification scope. I mean, it's not the eights or the tens or anything like that, but it's still a 6 magnification. And you know, for some reason we tend to go for that 6 range a lot of times when 3 and 4 would do. And yes, 3 and 4 magnification will work just fine out 1,500, 2,000 yards. And if you don't believe me, look up the Valdata. I think it's the I-Core. Just look up Valdata. Um, and there's a guy from Canada, I don't remember his channel, but he actually lets you look through the lens as he zooms out to 17 or 1,800 yards. You can see just fine with the 3 power or even the 2.5 power scope. There's plenty reviews on this scope. I think as far as that goes, there's good reviews, a lot of reviews on the Monstrum and even on the Blackhound. Now, this one is the heaviest scope of all the scopes that I've shown you, even though it's not the biggest scope. Again, I haven't shot with it. Once I mount it, and I am going to mount it in these wheelers. It is a 34-inch tube. The other scopes are a 30-inch tube, except for maybe the UTG is a 1-inch. But I'm going to mount it in this. It's a one-piece mount. It's going to go on my competition Bagara, which you guys have not seen. The Bagara is getting there, so I will be showing it to you pretty soon. I'm still trying to figure out what bullet to shoot in it. Now, the Bagara itself, so far I've only shot 3 different ammunitions in it, and so far it seems to like everything is not being really picky, but I still don't know where I'm at with it. This is the first gun and rimfire that I'm actually putting a little money into, and not saying that there is no budget, but there is an extremely higher budget for this one than for the Savage. Again, I'm going to get this one, my Zero Tech, back in the box. And guys, I hope that you enjoyed taking a look at scopes with me. And if you want a comparison to any of the scopes that I have with the Zero Tech, the Arkin, the Element, Sniper, I don't know. I have all kind of stuff. Hawk, Athlon. If there's something you might like to see, some of the scopes that you've seen me shoot on my different guns, pellet guns, then just let me know. You want to just know how they feel, or I know usually when I do scope reviews, I don't get in as much detail as I do with these. There's another scope coming. It's a Barris, and it's a Veracity PH. It's actually a programmable scope. So that scope for sure will be on the Bagara. And the reason I'm choosing it, that scope is actually MOA scope. The other scopes I've just shown you is MILRAD. MILRAD is kind of the chosen option for scopes in NRL, probably PRS as well. Don't really know why, don't really care. When I shoot a scope, I'm using it to hit something, and when I zero my scope, to me, MILRAD or MOA doesn't make a difference, because to me, I'm just using the dials anyway, or hold over and hold under, and as I work with the scope, I figure out what I'm going to do, one or both. So getting into competition is a little bit different, and the reason for that for me is because of dope. And dope is knowing the distance, your holds for that distance, windage, elevation. If everybody is using Milrad and they're using Kestrels and then they're getting their dope, and I have a friend, Eric. Eric uses he uses Arkin. He's shooting at EP5 on one of his guns, but he uses Arkin on all his guns. And the thing is, they're Milrad, and he doesn't use MOA at all. All his scopes are Milrad. So when he gets his dope, it's in Milradian. Now, I've looked at both of these, and I think that even with the dope, they're so close to each other, it would transfer over, and I'd still know what I was going to do if he just gave it to me. But again, he uses Milrad, and when he does his dope, I can just ask him, hey, what is your dope for this target? Not for this target, but for this set. I can say, what is your dope for this? Or can you give me the dope? And because it's Milrad, that works. Now with the Barrett's Veracity coming in, it is MOA, but I don't need his dope because I have an app on my phone for that scope. And although this is MOA, it puts the dope in for me. The great thing about the Veracity, which again, I will make a video, and there is videos out there, but I can set it to dial yardage or MOA. And it has a heads-up display, digital display. And when you go to a NRL match, they tell you the distances of your targets and the order to shoot them. Well, if you tell me the distance on the Veracity, once I zero the scope, I can dial it in. So if I know a target is 35 yards, the next target is 115 yards, and the next target is 65, 77, whatever it is, I can just dial. Now the difference in that scope is it is not audible. It's not, it doesn't click. You just watch the yardage change as you turn the turrets. So yeah, you can still do hold over or hold under, but you can just literally dial your yardage. And with you looking through it, it will just tell you. So the likelihood of you not changing is less because you're looking at it. Another thing about the Veracity is when you go to a site, if you go to your app, so when I go shoot, I shoot an hour away at, let's say, my home club. It's an hour away. So I put in the address of that club or the zip code of that club, and the app will pull the information from the internet and update my elevation, the temperature, and the wind. Although wind can change, but it will update it and send it to the scope, and my holes will be adjusted electronically. By all means, take a look at the Veracity, the Barrett's Veracity pH. Make sure you look for the pH because the XD and all of those are not digital. So look for the pH. But yeah, so I would put my information in. Therefore, I don't need assistance from anybody else from their Kestrel or whatever, because it pulls it and puts it in for me. All I have to do is say, hey, this is where I'm at. And it says, hey, today the temperature is, the wind is, and your holes are adjusted as. Now, it doesn't literally say that, it just automatically does it. And when I dial, everything is adjusted. Now, if I shoot and I see that it's off, as the windage could change and the temperature could change, I can update that. I wouldn't do it during a particular set. So as you move through your different sets, I wouldn't do it then, but I could physically adjust if I see it miss. Now that scope is a $1,200 scope. Most of the time, if you catch it on sale, it's $800. Probably the most expensive scope I'll ever own. Who knows? I said I would never own a scope this expensive. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me today, looking at the different scopes that I have, and with me learning. If I said anything wrong, I'm not going to tell you that I know everything. If I said anything wrong, please let me know, and please post it in the comments so people that are watching can, they can get the correct information too. And until next time, guys, stay safe, shoot straight.